Hello to our 1,502 subscribers, and welcome to the show, video, background noise, or whatever this is. Hope you are having a great holiday season and are ready to listen to us talk about something unrelated to the holidays. The first season of Welcome to Derry. Why do I sound like a announcer? I want to get a few things out of the way first. Ben is here, but I've asked that he let me get my entire spiel out before we start. Number 2, I know we just released a few of these reviews in a row, but if these aren't your vibe, don't worry because our video essays aren't going anywhere. They just take a little more time to write, record, and edit and figure out why the fuck they aren't monetized. And 3, Ben has been begging for us to have some structure to these reviews, and I'm always saying we should just wing it. But for something this big, I think structure is appreciated. I'll lay out some ground rules in a few. But for now, I'm going to shut up, and this is my voice when I read something off of a script. I will not sound like this the whole episode,
Totally
I promise.
natural. Nobody even knew that you were reading it off of a script. That's so impressive. You freestyled whole thing.
I did. That was straight off the wrist.
Yeah, wrist. Straight off the anklet. Well, hey, excited to have everybody here to talk about it. Welcome to Derry. I think a good thing to maybe just kind of kick us off, John, before we jump into like the more structured analysis and pros and cons and all that good stuff is, John, tell me, like, what's your original impression of it generally? So like the movie from the 2010, the movie series of the volume 1 and 2 from the 2010s, maybe the 90s show, the book. What are your thoughts around it, generally speaking?
So I'll do this in order of my initial. I saw the 1990 series in high school. I had those Warner Brothers DVDs that had like the little click. Do you remember? There were DVD cases that clicked.
Yeah.
I had that. I thought it was the one where part 1 was on one side of the disc and part 2 was on the other side of the disc. But I only watched part 1 and I thought that was the entire thing for a while. I was like, this is fine.
For a lot of people, that's true, by the way. That is maybe the only part.
And then in 2017, I saw the movie, which I thought was fine. Or no, I thought it was good. A little better than fine. It was good. I could very much tell that it was capitalizing off of Stranger Things that came out a year before, which is funny because Stranger Things takes a lot from it. And then I saw Chapter 2 in theaters in 2019, and that's the only time I've seen it. I thought it was fine. I think the adult part is always kind of a letdown. I did read the book in 2018, and it took me a year. That is a dense book, and it is long. And now I use the hardcover I have as a book to hold up my other books, because it's so thick.
A bookend, if you will.
Sometimes a doorstop. Yes, a bookend. What about you?
Yeah, I really liked the first volume of the new iteration, so the first movie. I really thought that they had found kind of like lightning in a bottle with like the child actors that they had. I thought that all of them in their own way just had like a lot to bring to the table, which is sort of a foreshadowing. I would say it's hard to find really talented child actors. And it's a rarity when they have that like ability to make an audience connect like pretty much immediately. And, you know, I think that was one of the pieces that I really enjoyed. The other piece is like in the 2010s and that range, there wasn't a whole lot of, I wouldn't say original because this has been done before in the 1990s, but maybe like horror villains that were unique. Obviously, in the 1990s, they did the iteration of it in the series with Tim Curry, right?
Yep.
It's really, really cool to see that, and then to kind of have it reimagined and make it as creepy as that movie was, and kind of make an iconic villain like Pennywise come back to the forefront in a sea of, you know, spooky ghost, paranormal activity, kind of like on the tail end of found footage era. It was just really cool to kind of go back and see the amount of weight that Pennywise brought in that time period. And I think that the movie overall, I thought it was really, really well done. The second movie I did not like nearly as much, which I think that's just like a trend with the book and the movie, generally speaking, is that the first part with the kids is more impactful than the part with the adults where they go back. But, you know, ultimately I liked both pieces of it. I think that it's something that I revisit maybe yearly, I would say, at least the first volume of it. And I think that generally speaking, it's something that's really fun to look back at and be like, hey, this is a cool moment. And then honestly, I think the whole reason this show got made was just the gravity of the first movie being created and the reception, and also probably piggybacking off of the success of Stranger Things and that vibe and the appetite for, horror-esque series.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Hold on, it's going to come back to me. Oh, a few things. One, this does not feel, the movies don't feel like a remake of the 1990 miniseries. They feel like it's different.
Definitely not.
Yeah. They just feel like new adaptations of the book, which are different, which I've talked about in our Nosferatu video, or you talked about, I wrote down. And then it's interesting because our generation, even though this is based on a book from the 80s, our generation, we were both born in 95, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're both born in 95. Obviously, Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, Chucky, all of those, Ghostface, they've had sequels come out while we've been adults, but none really spawned. And then from 2007, basically from when we were in middle school till 2017, it was the zombie craze, and then it was the horror remakes. I think all of which are bad. I'm trying to think of a good one. I think the Hills Have Eyes remake, there's something there. And then after that, we hit found footage. And I think when the 2017 It dropped, it was just a breath of fresh air to have not like a brand new villain, but to have a recognizable, like a shepherd towards the franchise in the vein of Michael Myers, Jason, all of that. And I don't like these movies, not the It movies. I like the It, but the Terrifier movies. Yeah. Art the Clown could be seen as our generation's. Those movies aren't for me, but if you enjoy them, hell yeah, I wish I did. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up was what I remember most from It Chapter 2 is that the movie, it basically goes, they're adults, and then at one point, each individual one is separated, and you get a little vignette of Pennywise scaring them. All of them are like, oh, this fucked up thing happened to you as a kid. This fucked up thing happened to you as a kid. I'm going to psychologically torment you. And then when it gets to the adult version of the fat kid, Pennywise is just like, you used to be fat. That's it.
Look how much you've improved yourself.
Yeah, fuck go. You. You used to be
fat piece of shit. Now you're kind of hot.
Which always gets me. And I want to cover this now. We will not be making fun of... Well, I don't even think we can. For the show, we will not be making fun of the child actors. I think they actually do a great job. I don't love the writing for one of them specifically. But we'll get into that later. But we're not going to shit on child actors.
No, we're not going to shit on child actors. The only thing that I'll mention, and this will go into a little bit further too whenever we actually talk about specifics. Definitely there were some characters that were underwritten, some characters that were maybe I would call it just not developed enough for the actors to get a really good grasp on. And I think the only thing that I can really remind myself, and I think remind everybody, is like, it's really hard to have like a super impactful child actor cast. And so that's why, like, you look at things like Stranger Things, like the It first movie, and you know when you really got it. So I think that that's something just to like keep in mind, is that they do a really nice job of trying to put things together, but it's not always lightning in a bottle.
Yes, and I do want to bring up, this is old man complaining. While we're recording this, the first like part 1 of season 5 of Stranger Things is coming out. If you're somehow watching this video years from now, it is December 21st, 2025. The little sister actor from the new season of Stranger Things, she recently had to come out, or like had to make her Instagram private. If you are part of the reason that a child actor was bullied online, you are not welcome on this channel. You are not fucking welcome here. Just want to make that clear because that's been pissing me off all week. Also, she's great in that show.
Yeah.
And the new Harry Potter kid, if you harass him, you are not welcome here.
Yeah, I mean, how could you harass him? He's literally adorable.
He is adorable. Okay. And then I think we should hop straight into the series. I say straight, even though we've just talked for 11 minutes.
Classic.
Before we begin, I want to get a negative and a positive to balance. The negative is that I did not like the premiere date of this season. It premiered on October 26th, 2025, which is 1 week before Halloween. I've been watching these episodes throughout November and now December in between Christmas movies. I think this would have been, even half the season came out before Halloween. I think this would have been a perfect Halloween watch. And that's pretty much my negative. I didn't like the schedule. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I don't know why they did that.
It's kind of hard to like switch your brain when you're like finally on the tail end of like your 30 days of watching horror movies. Or if you're like me, I normally start October 1st and try to watch as many as I can within that small time period before Halloween. And then immediately after the fact, you're like, oh, hey, there's this new horror series, which it's not like they're coming out with a ton of new horror series that starts the week before Halloween and then goes all the way up until, the middle of December. It's just kind of a weird space and time. And I do think, even though this has been a monster of a success, so like obviously it didn't impede anybody from actually watching it, it did feel vibe-wise a little weird to like say my brain's kind of transitioning from Halloween horror watching into, Christmas movies or like even the holdovers and stuff like that, like watching more like comfy, cozy movies. And then you're like, hey, let's watch this clown like go murder an entire village of children,
Yeah, I took a break. I watched the first 5 episodes like the day after they came out. And then 6, 7, and 8, I watched the same day leading up to the finale because I could not bring myself. I was like, oh, I do need to watch these now that Ben and I know we're going to cover them. But I don't really want to right now. That's not my vibe. That's my note. It should have had a different release schedule. That's logistical planning. There's probably a reason for it, and I understand. And then my positive is that the intro to the show, I did not skip it one time. It is fantastic. It is great. It is great. That's it. It's my entire note. It's a great intro. Like the opening credits, fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and shout out to the artists that did that, because every episode there was like small differences between the episode prior. Did you kind of catch some of those?
Was that a thing? Because I thought it, and then
I thought so. At least for there was definitely a shift in a couple of the episodes, and I think the rumor mill has that it has like the intro itself has sort of like the foreshadowing for the next couple seasons of like when this is going to take place, because
yes,
spoiler alert, this got renewed for 2 additional seasons just due to the success of the first one.
I don't think that's a spoiler alert, because I don't think that's a spoiler alert. We'll get into that at the end.
Okay, sounds good.
Just let you know.
Well, yeah, but I really like the intro. And so now that we've talked about the intro and the general timing of the series, we'll jump into kind of the quick synopsis of each of the episodes. We're going to try and keep this sort of tight just to make sure that we're talking about the specific episode. And then we'll actually give a full, like, couple pros and cons of the series. And then hopefully talk about maybe what they're going to do next afterwards. So, jumping right in.
I'm raising my hand.
John. John's raising his hand.
Just letting you know, for my notes, because we're going to do, like, a minute review on each episode after we get the general synopsis out of the way. For the first 4 episodes, we did not plan to record, like, make a video for it, so most of my notes for the first 4 episodes are one sentence. So
super stoked.
Once we get to 5 through 8, I got thoughts, but if I'm quiet, it's because I didn't have any notes.
All good. Well, so episode 1, the pilot, I was going to read the IMDb, like actual synopsis that they have on there, but I'll just try to freestyle a little bit. So
yeah.
Basically, a couple months after their classmate Maddie goes missing, some main characters, Teddy, Phil, Lily, and Ronnie, go to try and find to see where maybe he went off to or where he disappeared to, and just weird stuff that kind of happens in Derry, generally speaking. And then Major Leroy Hanlon, which is, I would call it our other main plot line, comes into town with his son, and they are based on the Derry Air Force Base, which, by the way, never ever in the series did I realize that they were that close to a military base. But, world building or retconning on the back end, never a bad thing. So that's pretty much the biggest synopsis. So we'll jump into kind of spoiler territory. So really cool introductions to the characters here on my end. Like, I really liked Teddy and Phil. I actually thought it was unique, the fact that they weren't all really good friends. It sounds like in the first episode, Teddy and Phil actually were paid by Maddie's mom to come to his birthday party or something. And other than that, there was not really a whole lot of connection between them. So it was fun to sort of, instead of them all being kind of a close-knit or being brought together by their trauma, to see them feel some sort of, I guess, guilt around the fact that Maddie went missing and they were the only people that were even remotely close to him. And then Lily, who's a true main character throughout the story, seeing her interactions and like her telling people that they should care that Maddie is not here anymore is pretty cool, just because, again, she didn't have a ton of interaction with him, but enough to actually leave some sort of an impression. And then now the spoiler moment. Holy shit, they just murder Phil, Teddy, and I think it's Phil's younger sister, who's like very, very young, at the end of the first episode by having it attack them in the movie theater, which is the last place that Maddie was seen. And it is brutal. I mean, they don't hold anything back. They kind of give you a little bit of insight into what each of these characters is like, and then they immediately rip them away from you.
Yeah, that was a good bait and switch for the pilot, because you do get individual moments with each child, thinking that they're going to carry the season along. My one note is that it's a fine pilot with quite the hook at the end. Sets up that we kill kids in this show.
Yep, they just did not care. They were like, we're killing kids in this show.
Yeah, so just plant that seed so throughout the season no one feels safe.
Right. I thought the other piece of it was like it felt like a true horror movie a little bit, because it gave you the small like hope that these kiddos were going to be the main characters the entire time, and then they just ripped them immediately from you. It felt kind of like a true horror movie. I wanted to give a compliment to the writing in the first episodes for sure. One, definitely didn't see the twist at the end coming, but two, the really cool part for me was the way that they introduced these characters felt very natural, which is a very difficult thing to do, especially in series like pilots, but even more so in a series pilot that's based on another work. They introduced these characters and it feels so natural. There wasn't like a, hello, this is my son, or this is who so-and-so. It just kind of like you jump right in with the characters and kind of get an understanding of where they're at. I really appreciated that. I thought they did a really nice job of just kind of naturally showing you who these people are, and then even getting you to kind of buy into them a little bit before, immediately ripping your heart out.
Yeah, you saying that tells me that you and I are going to have very contrasting views on this show. You giving all the praise to the writing in the first episode. You and I are going to be having a discussion later.
Hey, all I'm going to say, the first episode was well done.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that was the case for everything, but I think that at least the first episode felt very well put together. And I guess, any more thoughts on episode 1, the pilot?
Nope, I said my sentence.
Okay.
We kill kids.
We kill kids. We don't care. All right, episode 2. I think the title is The Thing in the Dark. Charlotte and Will navigate their new life in Derry. Ronnie worries about her father's fate. So essentially, Charlotte and Will just kind of try to figure out what really Derry is all about. And just to remind you, Will and Charlotte are the Hanlons that just moved from out of town. Basically are based on the Air Force Base with their son. And they're trying to kind of figure things out because it doesn't seem quite right. Now, obviously, like, there's some really interesting, like, pieces of this story that revolve around, like, race relations at that time. Also just kind of highlighting the fact that these aren't, not only just are these people of color, they're also, people of stature because of the meaning of, like, he is, in fact, a military ranking officer in town. And so it just doesn't feel quite right in that sense to them. And so they're trying to kind of explore what Derry looks like. And then, in addition to that, so after episode 1, Ronnie, who is another main character of ours, in the murder of Phil, Teddy, and Phil's little sister. Ronnie's
Maybe?
Margie. No,
No,
I think Marge is the other
Margie's-
main
yeah.
character. So
Sorry.
no, you're good. In addition to that, though, I think the gist of this episode is that Ronnie's father is getting kind of pinned for murder of Phil and Teddy and the younger sister. And so that's kind of another piece of the race relations where, they're looking for a scapegoat, and that scapegoat ends up being another person of color who, again, is affluent within the town, but just kind of put in that predisposed bad spot. So that's a summary of episode 2. And so, John, I'll let you kind of give your sentence, and then I'll throw a few things in.
Yeah, 2 sentences. One that just came to me and one I have written down. The one I have written down is the grocery store set is great. I'm imagining a bunch of grips, everything on wheels, rolling in just to make it look like the whole store's closing in. And I hate, a character I hate, because they're written that I hate them. I think the actor is great, is the sheriff, who is played by the guy who plays William Easton in Saw 6. So for all my Saw fans, that's William Easton. That's it. That's it.
That's a good note. I was going to say, yeah, I get it. Inflation is a killer in the grocery store. So that was my pun for the moment.
Look at this guy.
I know, I'm classic. And then I said a couple good things about this episode. So Richie is the best character by far. He gets introduced in this, and it feels very natural. Ronnie's father feels a little bit underemphasized as the series goes on, and only comes up more when it's convenient.
Agreed.
That was a note there, is like he just kind of becomes that scapegoat, and then it didn't feel like they wrote the story around him. It feels like they used him as a plot device to kind of plug and play where it helped move the story along. I don't know if that makes a ton of sense, but that was a little weird to me. And then Ronnie's scene where her mom is like trying to eat her with her hoo-ha is very spooky and done. I really enjoyed that. Like, I thought that was a really cool scene where, the monster takes a form that obviously none of us have seen before, and I just thought that was really cool. But overall, this episode for me, a little bit of a dip from the first one. Not my favorite of the series. Not my least favorite. That one's probably coming up here in a few. But episode 2, it was just pretty okay world building, and then just kind of getting you comfortable with the characters as you kind of learn more about them.
Yep.
Anything else on 2?
Nope. I'm excited for episode 3.
Okay, here we go. Episode 3. Now you see it. Shaw orders Halloran's aerial search with Leroy and Paulie after a disappointing find. So they do like this helicopter ride. It's Hanlon, Dick Halloran, who also is in this series as a inner Stephen King world character.
Yes.
Which is, I honestly think, just so you know where I'm at, think aside from Richie, Dick Halloran's my favorite character by far. I think the actor does amazing work on just kind of conveying a lot without saying a lot, which I really appreciate. But anyway, the rest of the summary before I get too crazy on praise. Then we meet Rose, who is part of the native tribe of Derry. And they talk about, the goings on, because it seems like they, as the keepers or the native tribe of Derry, have more insight. And then Ronnie and the kids, so Ronnie, Richie, Will, and Lily, all have sort of like a seance in the graveyard to basically try to see if there's a way to bring up or raise up the ghost so they can try to get a picture of it to clear Ronnie's dad's name. So that's quick summary of episode 3. Thoughts, John?
Yes, I have a note. He is not called Richie in the series, and there is a reason for that. He exclusively goes by Rich. The kid. He goes by Rich in the series, and that is for a very specific reason that we will get into later. And I know I'm going to try and not hit the points that I've seen online, but this graveyard scene, man, this is big Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion. It is horrendous. It's probably horrendous because the CGI artists were put on a crunch, which they always are, so I'm not blaming them. But I cannot believe that this got to air. Like, this made it all the way to air. I laughed every single time that they cut to a shot that's like looking at them, and it looks like they're just suspended in the air, fake riding bikes. It is horrendous. I'm not blaming anyone specifically for it. I'll blame the executives who probably put that crunch time on the CGI artists, but it literally looks hilarious.
So bad.
It is hilarious.
And it was so bad, in fact, that, and I'm not I do not finish series kind of guy.
Yes.
It was so bad that I was texting John about this and saying, I don't know how this got made. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish the series because this is so bad. And so it was that bad. And again, not a blaming on the CGI artists. I guarantee you they ran out of budget and time, and they were like, throw something together because this is in the middle of the series. It doesn't really matter because they were going to allocate the budget elsewhere.
Yes.
But man, it was rough.
I think that's when we decided to cover this. I think I texted you about the graveyard scene. I was like, we have a lot of texts about what is happening on this show. We should just, once the whole series is over, talk about it. So a positive from that, if you don't hate our show or episode or whatever this is, that is what caused us to record this, because we had a lot of thoughts on the graveyard scene.
Yeah, exactly. In addition, on this episode, a couple other things. I really like the General Shaw Rose flashback that takes place into like the lore and background between the two of them. I actually wish that there was a little bit more of that. I felt like that was more compelling than a lot of the other scenes with the like tribe, which I definitely want to talk about that in a minute. But I really like that flashback in this episode, even though this is probably my least favorite episode. Maybe this and 4 a little bit. And then the other thing was, I will give it props, like the vision that Dick has when he goes into its mind when they're on the helicopter. That was really cool. I really liked that. And like the picture of his grandma, like basically coming down and warning him that he was stepping into something that he really shouldn't have. I really like that. And then like in the real world, while he's having this vision, like his body is trying to jump out of a moving helicopter. That was pretty cool. So I thought that those were two kind of highlights, although that ending, man, gut punch. I was just like, wow, what a rough sled. Yes.
I do want to add that I initially rolled my eyes at the introduction of Dick Halloran, but he went on to become one of the best parts of the show. I was like, what are we doing, man? He's the Nick Fury of the Stephen King cinematic universe.
SKCU. Yes.
Yes, the SKCU.
I've got them all in. I thought that, man, he definitely was probably one of my favorite pieces of the entire series. Let me find the actor's name. I just want to make sure that I give him the props. But wow, just like really was impressed with him, because it's hard to come in and do that, especially with kind of, I wouldn't say an underwritten character in The Shining, but somebody who just kind of is there in The Shining to kind of be a plot device. It was really cool to see him. His name is Chris Chalk. Cool. And he's a great actor, man. That he did a really, really nice job.
I think so. There's 3 major projects with the character of Dick Halloran: this show, The Shining, and Dr. Sleep. I think he is the best part of all 3 of those. I really like him in Dr. Sleep. I really like Dr. Sleep. That movie's, I actually don't know if it's underrated. I just really like it.
I like Dr. Sleep. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I think I need to watch Castle Rock to tie all of my like Stephen King cinema lore together. And then also they just came out with the new version of Salem's Lot, which was
bad. And I like Salem. I like the book. So okay.
Episode 4, The Great Swirling Apparatus of Our Planet's Function. What a mouthful of a name. So, episode 4, as the kids face increasingly terrifying experiences, Charlotte attempts to advocate for Hank, and General Shaw escalates his efforts. So again, Charlotte is the wife of, I guess, Sergeant General Halloran. Or not Halloran, Hanlon. Sorry. Hanlon and Halloran are very similar names. I understand why they had to do it, but man, it does get a little bit confusing. So Leroy Hanlon is the general, or Sergeant General or whatever in the Army. And then Halloran is Dick Halloran from The Shining, and also the main kind of like psychic type character in this show. Yes. And so Charlotte is Leroy Hanlon's wife. And then General Shaw basically is the boss of Hanlon and Halloran. So this was the light beginning of the Sinners plotline, which will come back up.
I'm fast. I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm fascinated.
This is the light beginning of the Sinners plotline, where they're running and hiding, or they have the beginning of the what they call the black spot in the show, where they're going to turn it into a juke joint. They literally at one point say like it's going to be like a club or something, and so the light beginnings of the Sinners plotline. Marge chopping her eyeball out was absolutely insane.
The snail eyes.
And also didn't make a ton of sense, but I was into it. I just hadn't seen, maybe, and this is a good point for you, John, to like speak to, but like I hadn't seen it like cause somebody to do harm to themselves.
I remember the start of chapter 2 in the book, the character who is Teddy's nephew, he kills himself because I think Pennywise is returning, but I know what you're saying. It's not the same thing. He's like inadvertently getting her to cut her snail eyes off, which is that was I think I have an eyeball issue. I think I have an eyeball trigger because that was gnarly.
Yeah, it
absolutely
was nuts.
Gnarly.
Also, fuck the patty cakes. Just gonna throw that in here. Marge at the beginning of this series and like the patty cake stuff, like immediately hate them with every passion of my being. Not the actors, just the characters that are written in the story.
Is this there's an episode, I don't remember which one it is, and Marge and I believe Lily are in the bathroom and they walk in and somebody farts and she says, that wasn't me, and then she walks out. That was the whole scene.
Yeah, I don't remember which, I know exactly what you're talking about. I do not remember which episode that is in, but we'll track that down. We'll track that down for the listeners.
Fart jokes always make me laugh. I know I'm 30. I'm 30 years old. Fart jokes always make me laugh. But this episode is, so Ben and I are writers, unsuccessful writers for the moment.
Unsuccessful.
Just want to make that clear. We are not high on our own supply. But this episode is peak lazy writing because it is our exposition dump.
Oh my god.
That is, Dick Halloran goes into Taniel's brain while they're interrogating him, and you get 20 to 30 minutes of just exposition dump, which is definitely not super lazy.
It made me, this also, like, I think actually this is my least favorite episode, because I can forgive the CGI stuff. This is definitely my least favorite episode, because I think that they totally misrepresent the tribe, like the native folks of Derry in the tribe, and I think they're called the Keepers. I think is like their nomenclature in the books, and then maybe also in the show. I just didn't hear it specifically answered like that, or at least notably so. It really made me mad, because it was like the only time that they ever talked to the tribe, like the native Derry folks, like is whenever they want to lore dump. And it was just so annoying, because like I think that there were so many cool aspects about, like, you know, the pillars, and hey, we've been here for eons, and like we have a responsibility to do X, Y, and Z. And like there's so much that they could have utilized this group for, like maybe even making one of the kid characters somebody who was part of the tribe to help the other kids learn about it. And they just like shit on them, like really hard shit on them, and basically only use them for lore dump and exposition. It really made me mad, and I think that it's a huge disservice to that group of individuals, like in the scheme of the story, because they play such an important role in the books, and to have them kind of cheapen down to just, oh, here's 20 minutes of me talking about exactly what is happening so everyone's on the same page, and it just felt really cheesy. And so I'm really glad that they pulled themselves out of this, but there were like 2 straight episodes of every time we see them, all that you're going to hear is all of the exposition dump, and we're not even going to try to hide it. We're just going to give it straight spoon-fed to you. And I think, generally speaking, this episode could have gotten cut completely. I don't think that there's anything in this episode that was super noteworthy other than maybe Marge's turn and then the exposition dump. But I would have much rather had more flashbacks and less voiceover about what is happening in Derry, and maybe even more ambiguity. We don't need to know everything. Maybe we need to know parts and pieces of, like, hey, we think this is how we're going to stop the creature or how we're containing it, instead of them saying, here's everything that's ever happened with all of these, you know, pillars and everything. It just really made me mad.
Yeah, there is an organic way to give you exposition throughout media. We're not I don't want to be old man yells at cloud, but this was egregious exposition dumping.
And a disservice to, like, minority characters, too, in a way. Like, their whole purpose is just to exposition dump, and It just felt super cheap. That's just my opinion. I just didn't love the way that they treated those characters, especially because Rose, like, a couple episodes ago, had a relationship with the general, and then they kind of just, like, glance at it. They're sort of like, oh, they know each other, and they remember each other from their past, but they can't really remember because Derry makes you forget everything. But they kind of glance it, and then they just don't really bring it up again.
Yeah, I like James Remar. He's in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. I like James Remar. I hate his character. I love his acting. I hate his character. I think every time he's on screen, I am annoyed with whatever he's saying. He only speaks in riddle, which is not even also, riddle, half-truths.
Yeah, like the whole entire time, I feel like a lot of the show from at least these first couple episodes is Leroy Hanlon coming back and confronting Shaw about something that he didn't tell him.
Yep.
There's a lot of back and forth, and it's like, when were you going to tell me about this? And he's like, it's okay. Here's actually what's happening. But it's really not actually what's happening. Or here's the game plan. And then you find out at the end that he basically, every episode that they've talked has been basically drip feeding him information. Yeah. I feel like they overused that thought process of, like, going back and forth.
Yeah. My last note is I have a love-hate relationship with the Pennywise lore. Think it works because it's kind of abstract. You don't need an explanation for everything. So with each explanation, hold on, I'm gonna sneeze on mic. Okay, thank
Bless
you. I'll leave that in. Don't worry. I think with it, I kind of like it more abstract. There are some interesting pieces of lore, so it is a love-hate relationship. I like some of it. I don't like all of it. I think some stuff doesn't need to be explained. But we will get more into that later.
Yep. All right, episode 5, 29 Neibolt Street. Here we
go. Turning point.
Let's go. This is where things actually, like, go from this potentially floundering to something that I think ends up being pretty good. After discovering Shaw's plans, Leroy takes his family to the base as the Keepers plan to handle the rising town violence. Military forces arrive at Neibolt Street while the children enter the sewers with a mission. So basically, they figure out the pillar situation from mindfucking Taniel in the last episode with Dick's powers. The Keepers are trying to figure out a way to make sure that, things don't get out of control. And then the military basically invades Neibolt Street, which, if you're not familiar, again, just as a reminder, this is the house that's kind of the cornerstone of the movie, at least the first chapter, and somewhat in the second chapter, but is sort of the epicenter of it activity. The children decide that they're going to go into the sewers because, surprise, surprise, Maddie comes back into the fold. He's not actually dead, ... But he comes back and looks extremely wet, sort of like Bootstrap Bill from the Pirates of the Caribbean. That was my biggest note. And then starts delivering kind of some information. So I'll just pause there for a minute. John, any initial thoughts? And then I've got quite a few notes on this one.
Yes, this is where I started taking real notes. I, at this point, had given up on the series being good. But we had already agreed to do a series review, so I was just chugging along. This is the turning point of the show, and that is all due to Bill Skarsgård and the first appearance of Pennywise finally.
Absolutely.
You can signal the exact turning point of the show to his first appearance. I'll get more into that later. The Xanax scene is hilarious, where all the kids take Xanax. There is actual tension in this episode, and I really noticed the score. This is the first time I really noticed the score.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I was excited for the next episode. And I think that is all due to Bill Skarsgård. Well, no, because I can't just put it on him appearing. I think the writing, the suspense, and all the performances just excel after this. This is also where Marge becomes part of the gang. And I think she might be one of the best characters in the show. I think
so too.
It's because she was just a secondary character up until this point. And now she's officially part of the gang. Yeah, this is the turning point of the show. Most of my notes after this are going to be positive notes. Please, that's all I have to say.
All right. I really like the Maddie coming back piece, even though he's, obviously faking coming back to lure the kids down into the sewers. I also really like the way that he delivers information, because it's not just like, here's exactly what's happened. Come to the sewers with me. He kind of pulls you in with a little more emotional tale. He's like, oh, I don't know exactly what he says, but it's something to the effect of like, Teddy's like skull got ripped out and then, brains got eaten in front of me or whatever. And the little girl gets like devoured and then Phil's down there and he's still alive. Or like, they do a really nice job of basically trying to get into a flow of explaining things and moving the plot along while also giving you kind of good details to lure you in. And I think that was really impressive. So that was my note on Maddie. I think I re-emphasized, because this is another episode where they do the Native American lore dumps. They really underwrite these and they pull me out of it a little bit just because I feel like they could have done more with the plot line. I won't go back into it, but I just really didn't like how they used that. And then I was going to say, cool to see Hanlon almost shoot Will and then ends up murdering his best friend. The one part that I was a little confused about, this is a small nitpick, but I'm going to say it just because I feel like I have to. It did seem a little weird that the friend, that they were that quick to try and shoot something down in the sewer. Because up until that point, if you remember, I think his name is Paulie. Paulie was the only one who had actually seen some sort of creature. Leroy hadn't seen anything. So Paulie had seen something that, I forget what it was, but it was it in some sort of a form. And then Leroy's like, hey, if you see stuff down here, ignore it. But Leroy hadn't seen anything. And so it just kind of felt a little weird that, it would have been cooler to have them both see something individually and then have the third instance be Will, running across. And then they're like, no, I see it too. Because at the moment, it felt a small bit forced maybe that he jumps in front of the bullet and then dies or whatever. I just thought that part felt a little weird, but I do appreciate the thought of them being like, oh, I actually see him too, don't shoot him, and then him getting killed. I would have just liked maybe one more instance where Leroy is seeing something, and then also maybe since his big character piece is that he can't feel fear because of his brain damage or whatever, which only comes up once or twice and then never actually plays a major role. I think it would have been really cool to have Paulie see something. Paulie freaks out. Leroy calms him down. Leroy sees something. He shoots it, immediately. And then have Will come in, because it would have played to oh, he may actually be able to redevelop the thought of fear because he almost just killed his kid.
Yeah, I didn't have any notes on Paulie because I forgot he was a character in the show. I think I didn't care when he died. I like that actor. I think he did a great job. I want to see him in more stuff. But
yeah, he did a good job.
I forgot that he was in the show. I don't know if there's a term for it, but when the military are in the sewers, they have a case of, I'm in a horror movie, I'm going to make the stupidest decisions possible. I'm going to get us all separated. If I was in those sewers, I would be looking behind me the whole time to make sure people are still following me. Shit, I do that at Disney World. Make sure I don't lose anybody.
Right.
So
I always just put my phone up and have people follow me that way.
Yep.
And then, the Pennywise reveal. I am really happy with the way that they didn't just enter in and throw Pennywise into episode 1. I thought it was a good slow build to get you there, and it also didn't feel too long.
I think he should have appeared earlier, but I'm happy he's here now.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it felt too long. I definitely appreciate the fact that he didn't do it in the first episode. I guess maybe he could have come an episode or two earlier if they would have cut the one that we talked about a minute ago, but that was my only feedback. But overall, this is a great episode and kind of bought me back into being okay, we've got some legs. Any other thoughts on episode 5?
Just some housekeeping. So if anybody's screaming at the computer, which we can't hear, you had Teddy and Phil mixed up. So they were told Teddy was still alive and Phil got his brains eaten out. But once they get down there, Teddy is dead, and Maddie reveals himself to be Pennywise. That's it.
Okay. Thank you for keeping me honest. I appreciate it. Okay, episode 6, In the Name of the Father. Plagued by increasingly dark visions, Dick learns that the black spot is integral to Charlotte's plan. Meanwhile, Will faces his parents' disapproval, Marge stands up to patty cakes, and Lily's mental state worsens. So that's the synopsis. Basically, the black spot is going to be used to store Ronnie's dad because he is on the lam, basically hiding from the cops. Will is getting told basically that he's not supposed to be running around like a madman because he almost just got shot in the sewer. And then Marge, who basically up until this point has been kind of a jerk, finally got to go down into the sewers with them. And so then they basically, go down and hunt down the creature. And so they then have Marge get excited about being a part of the gang as opposed to, being a kind of an antagonist.
Yeah, we haven't touched upon this, but Ronnie's dad can't tell the police where he was because he was with Ingrid's character, who we haven't talked about at all, played by the fantastic Madeline Stowe, who you can tell from her very first scene that she is going to be a sort of villain. I called that I think she appears in the second episode, but this episode is dedicated to her. We're revealed that she is Pennywise's daughter. That's episode 6, right? I didn't make the wrong episode.
That's 7. That's
Are you
7,
sure?
So...
I don't...
No, actually, it's at the very end, I think, when they reveal the daughter, and then they do the flashback in 7. So yeah, they do the reveal at the end that, yes, she is, in fact, Pennywise's daughter. You're right, my bad.
Yeah, this is her time to shine. I thought the black and white sequence was great. It's an interesting piece of lore that I initially hated, but at one point I just turned my brain off. I think the backstory, which may be in this, the backstory of how her actual father was... Is that wrong? Is that episode 7?
No, that's in the asylum. So this is the asylum one, and the next one is the Pennywise back story.
Okay, then
This one is like the black and white one. But yeah, I thought the asylum scene was really cool. And then my only other note on 6 was Dick spends half of the second half of the series in bed.
Yeah, that's it. No note. No note. You're right. I am excited to talk about 7. I think awesome. I've said all my notes on 6. I'm excited to talk about 7.
7, a vigilante attack on the Black Spot unleashes a dormant force. In the aftermath, Dick helps uncover another crucial artifact. So this is the Sinners plotline all the way through. This is where they start to try and burn down the Black Spot because Ronnie's dad is hiding in there. And then essentially this is where we also get some background of Pennywise and kind of get to see his history, which is really, really fun to watch. Yes. And I'm going to give you my 2 notes, and then I'll let you do the rest of them. The Pennywise backstory is amazing, and RIP Rich.
R.I.P. Rich, you were my favorite character, and you were adorable. All the kid actors in this are absolutely adorable.
Yeah, agreed.
You said it's the Sinners plot. I just want to clarify that there are no vampires in this show.
Yeah, it's just the burning of the juke joint, the Black Spot. It felt sort of similar.
Yes, I think this is the highlight of the season. It's giving very big AMC show in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where all the crazy shit happens in the penultimate episode, and then the final episode is somewhat dealing with the ramifications. I know it's not actually a one take, but the fire at the start that's framed to look like a one take is terrifying. I think it's the scariest part of the show. It is so tense. I just sat there, my eyes, I don't think I blinked.
Yeah, it was really cool to be able to see that. And then also the fire actually looked pretty good, which I think that a lot of points in time in some of these horror movies, there's chances where like some of that sort of stuff seems a little bit cheesy, but it looked really good. And then I also liked the fact that the creature was like eating them among the flames.
Yes.
That was really cool. Like, not only were they burning alive, but also it was eating them. Thought that was really cool. And then, obviously Rich makes a huge sacrifice, and then that's big. So I think that piece of the puzzle means a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Episode 8. Do you want to give a quick summary?
Yep, Winter Fire. As a dense fog engulfs the town, by the way, the fog looks much better than the earlier fog, and General Shaw pushes ahead with his mission. Hanlon's, Rose, Dick, and the kids must work together to save Derry. So this is the penultimate episode. It's on the loose. It's killing a bunch of people. Derry's in shambles.
This is not the penultimate episode. This is the finale. Episode 8.
What's the penultimate mean?
Second to last.
Okay, never mind.
We learn on this channel.
Ultimate episode. This is the climax. This episode makes the entire series worth it to me. The school scene in the first 10 minutes of this episode is probably the best thing I've seen in horror television. It is so good to have all of those kids walk into the gymnasium and then have Pennywise using their principal as a puppet and then punts the head of the principal and then throws the corpse into the crowd of kids. That was crazy. I was so impressed by that. And then the comedy laced in with the dire situation was really well executed, specifically when the girls are in the milk truck chasing Pennywise. With like the line of kids. I thought it was really funny. I just thought that it was really well done that like Margie with one eye is driving the milk truck that she's never driven before.
And it's stick.
Yeah, and it's a stick. I was just so impressed by that. It was really good. The only other note that I have here is the climax is very engaging. I thought the kill for General Shaw was a really good payoff, and I think Marge being told her kid, Richie, was the one that was going to kill it was really cool world building.
Yes, I agree. I'll just go through my notes really quick. Stabilizer dancing is back. I love when they do that. They did it in the first one. This episode starts at 100. The Fog could be a good Fog reference to The Fog, which is also written by Stephen King. The dagger is doing the thing the One Ring does, where whoever holds it gets corrupted. And so they all hold it together. Ha ha, Finn Wolfhard. Floating blood is always cool. The rich ghost honestly gave me goosebumps, which is crazy to say. The little stinger that Madeline Stowe is in the first it, and the little cameo from Sophia Lillis. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. I know you're super busy with the chair company right now. Very good to see you. And then I'm just going to wait until we get to the full series because there are implications in this that I truly want to talk about, and I think it's what separates it from a fine show to a good show in my opinion. But I'm saving that all for our series review that we will have in a second. All right, now that we've covered the entire show, we are going to talk about the series as a whole. I'm very excited for this. I'm very, very excited. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
Yeah, let's do pros each and cons each. Which one would you like to start with?
Let's do pros first.
Okay.
It's so unlike me. I want to do the pros.
We're going to start with the positive and end with the punchline. I get it. All right, here's my first pro. I really enjoyed the incorporation of Dickie in the series. It's fun to have kind of the Stephen King crossover. I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but also, man, that actor was just really talented. His last name, I think his name's Chalk. Chris Chalk, I believe, is his name.
We looked it up earlier. We already forgot.
We looked it up earlier.
already forgot.
It's already gone. But man, like he was just such a delight and really stood out to me as kind of the most fun. Yeah, Chris Chalk, the most fun performance in the bunch, and I feel like it was pretty true to the character, at least from The Shining, and so that was really fun to watch. So that's my first pro.
I've told you about this, but the first 2 episodes of True Detective Night Country were so good that I powered through till the end, and I was the whole
You're
time.
A brave soul.
I powered through to the end. Which the cast in that is great. The cast is great. The writing's awful. I could talk your ear off about Night Country, but I was worried that this was going to be the same case as we kept going episode to episode. I am happy to report that it is not. But that's not really a pro, so I'm going to say my pro here. The plot where Pennywise is actually traveling backwards in time, making this a sequel prequel. So this, in his timeline, takes place after it. That is a fantastic idea. That is such a cool idea. That gets rid of the prequel issue, which like prequels always have to lead to the actual thing, so you don't get any stakes. So that he moves backwards in time, that is a fantastic plot point, subplot or whatever, that actually has me excited for season 2 and 3, which I heard were just announced. At first I was like, yeah, maybe. But after that final episode, I'm on board. I am on the Derry train. Call me the milkman.
I'm in too. And by the way, there was a milk truck in the last episode, so you could be the dairy man from Derry. I was really excited about that prospect too, because then it doesn't like write itself into a corner, so to speak. Like there's a lot of room for it to kind of go a bunch of different ways, and so I was really excited about the prospect of that too. Yeah, I can't wait to see what season 2 happens to be. I think they kind of have alluded it being to like some mobster-esque stuff in Derry, which I would be like all about. So I'm excited to see what they do. I think I'm going to do 2 real quick.
Yeah, please.
First one is the storyline for the military piece. So Hanlon and Halloran's overall arc. I felt like that was really strong writing. There are definitely some areas where I feel like it may dip a little bit. I think the only notable piece that was a little difficult for me at times was where it was Hanlon going back to Shaw to be like, hey, Shaw, you're not telling me the truth. And Shaw's like, all right, let me tell you the real truth. And you're like, wait a second. And that happened like a couple times. But other than that, it was a really strong plot line. The kid's storyline dips a little bit and kind of goes through what I would call like a roller coaster effect of there's some episodes where I really cared about the kids and some episodes where I didn't really care about the kids. But man, they really nailed it after episode 4 and made me buy into the like caring about those kids.
That's a good boy out here barking in the back. That's a good boy. That's being left in. Don't worry. That's his cameo. I think so. With this is where I was talking about earlier that we're going to disagree on the writing. Don't worry, I'm going to talk, so I'll cut your audio or your dog's barking. Don't worry. But I think whenever all the military subplot, everything, I hated it. I was so excited for that to, like, whenever that was happening on screen, I couldn't wait to get back to the kids. I did not like it. I think there were highs. There were some parts that were tied together, but even the military is going to weaponize Pennywise. That's fucking dumb. That's from Jurassic World, where Vincent D'Onofrio wants to weaponize the raptors. That wasn't for me. I'm glad you liked it, though, and I've been seeing online that a lot of people like it, and I'm not knocking that, but that was not for me. That's my nice way of saying I didn't like it. It was not for me.
That's okay.
It was not for me. But I think that might be our only big disagreement on the show, is the military.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not?
It's not.
Oh!
No.
Oh, spice it up. I'm all ears.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I got a couple more here.
Yes.
Pennywise, obviously Bill Skarsgård, is one of the best horror villains ever. That's not a hot take. It's just true. And every moment that he's in the show feels super impactful, which I think is something that is really valuable. I think that was awesome. And then I really liked how brutal the show was. It just basically is like, hey, we don't give a fuck. We're going to do whatever we want with these characters, and we're going to just have you deal with the repercussions of that. So I appreciated that they didn't pull any punches. I feel like in today's society of movie and TV culture, especially TV culture where multi-season beloved shows kind of, I would call baby their characters a little bit. Like they're so afraid of killing off characters or, not giving them a happy ending. Like I think of even potentially what's going to maybe happen with Stranger Things. We don't totally know, but like there's that, or like Game of Thrones. They kind of like leave a lot of characters babied that we thought would have been gone long, long ago.
Plot armor.
And so
lots of plot armor.
I really appreciated that they killed one of the most beloved characters, at least to me, Rich. Like him dying in that way, I think it bought me into the show more, not less. And so I hope that in the future, more original IP or even, reboot or spin-off IP will like take some chances and be comfortable killing off characters. I think if it's done tastefully and with a lot of care, it can make the show even more meaningful to people as opposed to pulling people out of it because their fave is now gone.
Yeah, I think you're this is my issue with, I like Stranger Things. I'm a little piggy who loves my slop.
Me too.
I do think comes off as it was a focus group show. Like every decision made and it's gotten too big for them to really take any bold risks. I think in this final season,
The Walking Dead.
Oh
too.
yeah,
that's what happened to The Walking Dead. It was the same thing.
It's gotten way too big to take any risks. So when you have something like this with characters we don't know and characters that are only going to be here for one season, it's kind of you never know what's, like, plot armor will not save you in this show.
Right.
So that's a good point.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can't see on, because we're recording audio, but while Ben was talking, I was nodding in approval and giving him a thumbs up multiple times.
Hell yeah, man. We just support each other in this show.
We do.
I think that was everything that I had, other than just saying the last 2 episodes did do a lot of the heavy lifting for me in regards to the review of like my positives. But yeah, overall, I really thought it ended strong. And, you know, if it's that picture of like that horse, you know, it's like the really beautiful, majestic tail. And then 2 through 4 is kind of like a hand-drawn one, like terribly by me with my left hand. And then it kind of like goes back into maybe just like a cartoon-esque horse. And then 6, 7, and 8 goes back to like the most majestic horse you've ever seen. Maybe even one on fire. Because that last episode and the episode prior to, wow, really blew me out of the water.
Yeah, I think you and I are somewhat suffering from a recency bias. Because we just watched the last few episodes and it made me completely forget about all the stuff I hated beforehand. I think we're suffering a bit.
For it. But I mean, it's not just us. This is like the 3rd most successful HBO show of all time. So say what you will, but it can't just be us. It has to be more than just our recency bias.
Agreed. Do you want to hop into our cons, or did you have any more pros?
Let's hop into it. You start.
I have. Well, the writing is, you know, we could talk that to death. My big con is, and we mentioned earlier, has nothing to do with her acting. The actress who plays Lily, Clara Stack, she's doing a great job. Her character is, I don't want to say awful, but I did not like her character at all. And she also goes from what I thought was a main character, and then they just kind of run out of things to do with her, and Margie takes over her role. I think just, she was kind of a nothing character. And I really like the actress. I hope she goes on to do great things. She did a really good job, but everything she was given was just kind of, like, I don't. And I
actually thought that she was pretty good.
I thought she was a good actress. I just thought all of her plot lines were awful.
I think I liked her plot lines better than actually another character, but I think that I liked it because it showed her character arc definitely had some ups and downs. So I won't say that it was like my favorite one. But I guess this is where you and I would maybe disagree. I think that I liked it because it did feel up and down, which I imagine is probably what the character's supposed to be feeling, because it is somebody who has like mental illness in their past. And then there's moments in time where you aren't really sure if you should believe her. Like the other characters are questioning, should I believe her? Should I not believe her? I think the writing sometimes kind of takes a dip. I think my con on like the writing for a specific character was Ronnie.
Yeah, she was kind of one note. Ronnie was kind of
very much one note the entire story for me, because her whole motive was go. Everything is, my dad's gonna get accused of this, go. My dad's gonna get accused of this, go. You know, there was never really like anything above that. I wish I would have gotten to see a little more like outside of just the circumstance that she found herself in, because I feel like with the other characters you could see Margie change from being kind of a bitchy like popular girl into the person that she really was at the end of the show. You could see Rich kind of really grow into his character and finally like become a little bit braver. You could see Will get really confident and be able to stand up to his parents because he knew that he's smart and he knows what the truth is. And even Lily, like you can see that she really gets confidence back, even though it's from Periwinkle / Ingrid, that she should speak up and advocate for herself regardless of what people think. For me, Ronnie never had any sort of evolution. There was just, my dad is being pinned as a murderer. Here is where we've resolved that concern, and now here we are.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. And then like the love interest sort of, but it didn't really play until the end.
Yeah, now that you say it, I didn't really give it much thought, but Ronnie's pretty much starts as like the kind of the badass of the group, and she remains the badass of the group, like, so to speak. I mean, she's kind of the skeptic through and through. Like to the very end, she's the skeptic. We talked about the lazy exposition dump. I think it was kind of a slog at the start. Lily's character, whenever she showed back up, I forgot she was in the show. And I think that's in a nutshell. I don't want to just sit here and shit on this show which I ended up enjoying. It just took me a while to get there to enjoying it, but I'm happy that I I had given up, and then I watched 6, 7, and 8 back to back. I was like, oh man, I am glad I rode this one out. This is well worth the price of admission, which is whatever an HBO Max subscription is, or you could use your friends like I do.
No, we don't pirate here. We just
I don't think that's pirating until they crack down.
Fair enough. They're going to do the Netflix pretty soon.
I hope not.
I think my only other notes were I talked about some of the storylines being struggling in episodes 2 through 4, and some of them never really getting their due. I think some of them could have been cut down a little bit, and honestly, I think that rethinking through the episodes and actually doing kind of a speed rewatch, like just scanning through the episodes to kind of remember what happened in each of them, I think like 2, 3, or 4, one of those episodes probably could have been consolidated into another episode. Obviously, that doesn't feed well into the 8-episode series, but I do think that they probably could have cut an episode and it probably would have been even better, because there was a lot of time that was spent just kind of not really doing anything in those 2, 3, and 4 episodes. In addition to that, I think what could have alternatively been fun as opposed to cutting stuff would have been to, instead of having the keepers, the native tribe of Derry, tell everybody what's happening, do more flashbacks. Like, I didn't need Rose and Taniel to tell me via the insight what the history of Derry was. I would have much rather seen the flashback in a cutaway and just had nobody explain it.
Yeah, show, don't tell.
Yeah, just show, don't tell. I think that would have been enough for me to be like, okay, I'm in. That's great. Also, shout out the turtle symbolism. I think they had
Space Turtle. We had Space Turtle. I was the whole time I was like, where is my Space Turtle? There's plenty of Space Turtle references.
Shout out to the kid that comes to the gymnasium in the last episode dressed in a turtle costume. Don't know what he was going through, but it was definitely some shit.
I did the Leo point at the screen every single time a turtle showed up. Space Turtle. Chud.
Chud. And then we talked about the CG, so I won't go back into that piece. But the only other thing, and I think for me, this is what really got me fired up. Guys, girls, anybody else. Leroy Hanlon's plotline, his plotline, not the military stuff, his specific, like, why is he here, his background, is that he has brain damage from some sort of thing that has ruined the center for him to feel fear. And in the end, I get the point is, he feels fear. But also, and because of his kid, which I totally get. I think that's super fair. But we never got to see him in a scenario where that became relevant in any way, shape, or form, other than that's the excuse that Shaw uses to put him in the room with Halloran. I don't understand. Why was that even a part of this? Could he have not just been a brave soldier? Like the bravest soldier that like helped out a bunch of his comrades? The whole point in the first 3 or 4 episodes is like, the reason Hanlon is here is because he can't feel fear. And then we never get to see that come to anyone's benefit the entire show. And I was just like, they had such a cool opportunity to either give him the character arc, which I think they tried to give him, which was, hey, look, he actually does have fear. His fear is for his family, which they kind of try to do that, but they don't really do that. Or have him go up against it and at least get us an opportunity to see that it is confused and doesn't know how to, like, scare him. That would have been cool, because that was the whole point, was like, I mean, the kids are on Xanax and they don't see anything scary until it starts really wearing off. Like, that would have been cool. So that's my one big point. The only other thing I can throw out there, and probably someone smarter than me in the comments is going to enlighten me. What are the deadlights?
Oh.
What do they do?
You should just ask me that.
Because I think I've read like 3 different interpretations of it beforehand, because during episode 7 or 6, whenever Will gets taken by Pennywise, like he's on the phone and then he gets hit with the deadlights. From my recollection, it like messes you up or something, and then I saw somewhere it says that you die instantly or something. Like, what's the deal, John? Enlighten me, because I don't understand. Like, is it just to freeze you in time? Like, because your brain can't comprehend what it is?
Well, Ben, as someone who's read It, the novel.
Okay.
For the deadlights, I don't fucking remember. I don't remember any of that. I don't remember a single thing about the deadlights other than it makes you float, which you can see in the show. I wish I was prepared to explain it to you, but I'm not, and I don't remember.
Here are the couple of the people that get hit with the deadlights, and then pretty much nothing happens. So Will gets hit with the deadlights and follows Pennywise floating. Leroy Hanlon, his dad, gets hit with the deadlights and nothing happens. I know there's other characters that are getting hit with the deadlights and nothing happens. And so my question, what are the deadlights? What's the lore? I need to understand, because the lore online is not very consistent, at least. So I'm trying to better understand, because it just seems like it's like like in some of them it says that you die. Some of them it says you like lose your soul. Like, I'm just very confused.
In the show and the movie, it gives, and again, if anybody watches this and knows an answer, please comment. It gives the same vibe as the Dementors in Harry Potter, where they slowly take away your soul, or they suck your soul. That's what in the show it reminded me of, and you just kind of float. It gave me big Dementor vibes. I'm not sure if that's accurate at all. I'm just saying how it was portrayed and how I took it. I don't know why I'm defending myself. I'm just talking to you. Please don't hurt me.
Defend yourself. I think so. From what I'm reading here, it just says the deadlights are a mind-shattering orange light that are the true cosmic form of it, and it drives its victims insane and paralyzes them, or pulls their souls into a timeless torment within the universe.
Please tell me you aren't reading off the Google AI. Oh no. Oh no.
I've been caught.
Oh no.
Yuck.
We hate AI in this house. AI is the reason we're not millionaires.
Okay, but they pulled it from Reddit, so I'll click on the Reddit. Shout out intelligentpace_238. We got to give you credit.
Yeah, I'll mention it in the description. No, I won't. I'll forget. Somebody else comment that. I'm going to forget. Is it the same thing?
I didn't forget. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay. It's just a quote. That's fine then.
Yes. So I guess that's it, but it's very confusing. It doesn't make very much sense. But I think it's cool. I like when I see all his teethers open up and you can just see his teethers. But then I guess I wonder one other thing, and this isn't a con. This is just me being curious just so we're all on the same page. So what makes it want to eat certain people and not other people? Is it their level of fear?
I don't know. And I think that's something that works fine in the movies, because again, they don't explain as much. But for a show like this, where they pretty much dissect and explore everything, it's interesting that they didn't delve into that. Maybe we both missed something, but I know what you're saying.
I think it's something to do with fear. Like, it's like they have to be really, really afraid, like piss your pants afraid, and then he eats you. Maybe he's just a piss guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no... Don't look at me for any kind of rebuttal. I have no rebuttal.
It seems like you might have a rebuttal.
I don't have one. No rebuttal on you calling Pennywise a piss guy. I don't have any evidence that says he isn't. There's my rebuttal.
Well, with that, I think we're good to wrap this up. All in all, really cool. Excited for season 2. Probably we'll do a season 2 review whenever that may be, many moons from now. But
if this channel's still around, we might get bored. Bored doing this. Oh no, this is just going to be us now?
This is us now. Well, thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking with us till the end. More exciting videos to come, including we're gonna review whatever you put in the comments. First comment, if you put it in the comment, we'll review it. Promise. Handshake agreement.
Why? You get to edit that video. Whatever that is, you have to edit it.
All right.
Not me.